Oh my. Hello. Bonjour. Hola. ¿Cómo está? Hey. Well, I must say, cet hiver. It's winter. Winter. And it's a good time, I'll tell you. It's nice, it's calm, it's peaceful. Well, it's calm and peaceful for me, and I hope it's calm and peaceful for you, wherever you are. I understand that that's not true throughout the entire world, but well, we're going to leave that for another episode. Happy New Year, if you're into happiness and into New Year's. Now, got a little adventure here. So, we had no electricity in the forest for about 4 days. Now, normally in the forest there's no electricity, as you may know, but you'd have to be kind of silly to realize that I don't live in a house. I live somewhere. And we have electricity normally, and it's warm and lovely. But while we were without electricity, and we were also a bit away, if you've been following the videos, I was stepped away from the forest for a little bit. I want to talk about happiness. And what is happiness? Okay, because as you know, I like to talk about things, I like to talk about ideas, I like to talk about people. And it's a notion of happiness and utility. You use the economic word as a maximization of your personal utility and your happiness. But what is that? Okay, in this context, I'm gonna say some stuff. What I'm gonna say is this. If you can see this, happiness. Happiness is a thing that we wish for. And do you know how we wish for it? It's because we like it. It makes us feel good. Now, our happiness, my happiness, me happy. And then we have this idea, your happiness. Happiness. Okay, and sometimes you might note I write this curve. I like to talk about the production possibility curve in the context of the responsibility of government to maximize the well-being of everyone in our society, and that's kind of key, I must say. Okay, and wait, I'm just going to take a pause for a second. Okay, I want to verify something. I mean, I'm not that great at this, but I'm okay. There. That was me taking a pause. I hope it didn't have a bad effect. Okay, so happiness. My happiness. Your happiness. The happiness of everyone. So your happiness. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. The board, okay. Your happiness. I'm going to find some happy board. Woo-hoo-hoo. We're iced up, iced over. We'll deal with that later. But for the moment, we'll turn to this page over here. Okay. So your happiness, happiness. Let's make it easier. We'll call happiness H. It's your happiness is a function. We'll call the function H, the happiness function. It's a function of you, your resources, your stuff, your family, and it's a function of your neighbor number 1, neighbor number 2, neighbor number 3, ... out to neighbor infinity. Okay? So what I'm saying is that your happiness is important, and your happiness is a function of everybody else. And I'll say that in our little episode that we had here with where we were without electricity for a period of time, our happiness became a function of our neighbors, because our neighbors, I don't even really know them very well, okay? I know them pretty good, but not great. They reached out and they contacted me and they said, "Oh, are you okay? Is your house okay? Is there everything okay? Is there anything we can do? I'm going over to your house. I'm going to make sure it's all good. By the way, I have an infrared thermometer gun that I can use, and I can check the temperature of your house through the window and make sure that everything's fine and that it didn't freeze." And there you go. So what happened to my happiness? My happiness went up because my anxiety and concern over things went down. So what I'm saying is that happiness is a function of the happiness of everything. Okay? So if you're worried about what you should be concerned with in your life, and if you happen to be in a position of government, then you have influence over the world. I'll tell you, do you know what matters? And I'm quoting kind of a lecture from Alan Greenspan. What matters? Everything. Okay? Everything matters. Everything. So when you go to your meal at a restaurant, what matters? Does the food matter? Absolutely. Does the happiness in the kitchen matter? Yes, it does, because if you have happiness in the kitchen, that happiness is going to find its way onto your plate. And then the people that are working in the restaurant as servers, are they important? Absolutely. If you're doing other things, if you're shopping, if you're looking on the interweb and you find happiness, well, happiness is great. Okay, so happiness is a function of absolutely everything. Okay? And then if you're mathematically inclined, and you can go, we can talk happiness prime, right? Which would be like the derivative of happiness, which is the derivative of happiness, with respect to some arbitrary variable, we'll call it n. Okay, so if you change something, is it going to make you more happy or less happy? Is it going to make your neighbor more happy or less happy? How can we do this? Okay, because what we want to have is unbridled joy. But the thing about humans and unbridled joy is it's a function of the complexity of our lives and other people's things. So we know that life is a journey, and the journey has stops along the way, and not every stop is happy. We have sadness, we have fear, we have anxiety, we have trepidation, we have worry. But as long as we're working towards happiness and the happiness of others, and we're concerned about somewhat about this, then what happens is our world has a way of improving. Okay, if you recall back a few videos ago, I talked about the famous yeah, but. And someone's going to say, yeah, but what about this? What about this? What about this? Well, yes, and I talk about criteria and how our criteria evolves and changes and modifies, and we have to be open to change and mindful of that. And then experience, if you think about our memory, like our life becomes really a catalog of memories, or a warehouse full of thoughts. And the memories and thoughts that are strongest in us are maybe some experiential. They're the firsts. Okay, the first time we walked, the first time we rode a bike. I remember mine. The first time I actually kind of remember the first time I walked. But maybe people won't believe me, but for the sake of entertainment, what the heck? It doesn't matter. The first time I had lobster sandwich. I remember that. The first time I had a really great spinach salad. I remember that. The first time I rode a roller coaster. I remember that. The first time, you know what I remember? I remember walking in the house one day when I was very young. I was certainly less than 4, maybe less than 3. I'm not sure. And on my way into the house, on the way out of the house was my dad. My dad was going off to work, and I stopped him and I said, "Dad, can I have some money?" I didn't even know what money was, really. I didn't know what it was for, but I had this idea that it'd be nice to have some, and so I thought I asked my dad for some. I remember this thing. I'm like this high, and I said, Dad, can I have some money? And he reached in his pocket, and he gave me some money. I don't know how much. I don't know what I did with it. I don't know anything, but I remember that clearly, because I remember looking ahead and I'm seeing the green door of our house, and off to the left there was a swing set. It was still in the box. It has yet to be unboxed and assembled, as you know, late 1960s swing sets, if you recall that. And I recall my dad clearly. I remember the smell that existed in the porch of our house, and I was like, Dad, can I have some money? There you go. And he gave it to me, and that's my first. I'm talking about these experiences that accumulate and make up our lives, and they're wonderful. Like I remember being here at this place I'm at, where I have my forest, and not my forest, it's the world's forest. And the first time I saw the people coming and clearing the snow, I was boggled, gobsmacked. I still am. I'm like a little kid. When the snowplow people come, and it's a couple of women that drive the snowblowers, and they're tremendously skilled. And oh my good gracious, I get excited. I think it's the most wonderful thing in the world. Another thing is I have a snowblower. You know, I have you might have heard me talk about, I have an Ego battery-powered snowblower, and I use that to clear the snow from our deck, and maybe you'll see a little bit of that. And that thing, it's a magical tool, and I have shovels. I like to shovel. And you know, when I was in high school, we're learning French in high school, and the textbook about French, what it was it's the story of a family, the Leduc family, and as a job, the Leduc family's job was shoveling snow, and it was coming up on Christmas time in the story, and they were stressed because they had no presents, and they had no money for presents because it had not snowed, and so they had not worked. And so, oh my God, if you think about it, what a story. You could really make one out of that. If you're some people, when they take stories, they look at the story and they say, oh, did that really happen? You know, was it really that big? Other people, when they make stories, you let go of your imagination, and it gets boom, 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 bigger and bigger and bigger. And then inside your head, you know, if someone's telling you a story about a 6 foot, 7 foot giant, then you're thinking, oh, it's an 8 foot, 9 foot giant, and that gets really exciting. And the guy's walking down the street, and it's kind of an exciting way to live your life and to traverse the world. But anyway, a point of today is this idea of happiness. The people I'm going to talk about are all these fine neighbors that I have that reached out, and I'm going to mention that I'm really talking about anybody that reaches out. If you have an opportunity to reach out and help someone, please do. Which reminds me, I've been thinking about this. Do I want to tell stories about myself or not? You know, like really, because the whole thing kind of becomes a little bit of a story about myself. But I'm gonna share one. Is on a few occasions I've been at the grocery store, and I'm not a wealthy person. Anybody that knows me, I'm not, you know, by wealthiness standards, but you know, fine. And so a few occasions I've been at the grocery store, and the person that a couple ahead of me or whatever in the lineup, and they're purchasing their items, and they seem to be having some difficulty, and they're choosing between items, and they ring it through, and their credit doesn't work, or their debit card doesn't work. They don't have enough cash or whatever. And whenever I can, I'll catch the girl. I'll catch the person that's working. I'll catch their eye, and I'll try to reach over and just tap them out. I've done it. I don't want to say I've done it dozens of times, because that's not true. But when the opportunity arises and I'm able to do that, I'll always tap out, and it just, you know, that way I can spend the next 10 minutes feeling kind of good about myself, which is, you know, it's an illusion, but what the heck? Let's live in that illusion, okay? So if you have your opportunity and you can help someone somewhat, please do so. And there's a reason why you want helping people to be a little tiny bit public, but not too public, is because when people get the idea of helping, then they are inclined to help. And that's what I'm talking about. So thank you to all my neighbors that reached out to help me. Thank you to everyone that's ever asked me for help, and just thank you in general. Anyway, my name's Bruce. This is the channel. I know these videos are too long and sometimes they're boring, but Maybe sometimes, you know, you look at some of these videos that exist, wow, you know, but here I am, I'm in the forest. Thing I talked about today was the Ego snowblower. I get nothing from Ego, of course, except the pleasure of using the product. Talked about my neighbors, and I talked about this idea of happiness your happiness is a function of absolutely everything. And if you bear in mind that your happiness is a function of absolutely everything, that means that everyone else's happiness is a function of you. So you do what you can, all right? Thank you. Bye now. There, okay.